I guess the simple question is, are the Utah Jazz having a successful season? I would tell you the Utah Jazz are. I don't think there's any doubt that when this season tipped off, most people expected this team to go into full tank mode. They have done anything but tank. And I think when you look at where the Jazz are, you can't help but be excited about what's going to happen here in 3 weeks at the trade deadline. I don't think you can help but be excited about the NBA All-Star Game being at Vivint Arena this year. There's a lot to be excited about around this club that has nothing to do with basketball on the court. I think that's a big win. But as far as the game goes, you can see that this team, Danny Ainge, Ryan Smith, reset their house, and now you feel like they're heading in the right direction. So, Jake, to this point, do you think it's been a successful season for the Utah Jazz?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think they've, outperformed expectations. I think what you said there is spot on. Headed into the season, everyone thought that this was going to be, a 20-win team. And that's not what this team is. I think they're obviously well on track to, pass that mark and do some nice things and be better than that we thought they were going to be as a fan base. And I think that, this whole conversation hinges on your ability to appreciate what they're doing now instead of saying that they suck. You have to be able to say, hey, yeah, preseason expectations were a lot different than what we got. And that's a good thing, not a bad thing. So, yeah, I think they're having a good season. I just think that Jazz fans, won't really be happy until there's true winning again, until there is true, contending again. And I look at this team, and on most nights, they're, 2 to 4 possessions behind the team they're playing. That's kind of where they find themselves. So, they beat Donovan the other night, and that was great. That was an awesome moment for everyone involved. But now it's kind of time to move on from that moment and kind of time to get to the business of the trade deadline. And I think that largely the trade deadline and how Danny goes about operating in this window is going to define whether this was a good season or not. Because really, again, the win-loss column doesn't really matter as much. It's more about what you did to build the roster and what direction you're heading in. So if Danny has a baller trade deadline and does a bunch of great things and people are really happy, then I imagine people will be like, yeah, they had a good season. If Danny has a trash trade deadline and they don't really do much and they add one guy and that's it, then I think people will probably be like, yeah, it was kind of a rough season. We didn't win too much. We were in most games we played, but we just weren't good enough to win them, and we didn't really have a good deadline.
What expectations do you have when it comes to the trade deadline? Because I think this is actually a really interesting conversation. What expectations do you have? My expectations are that there will be significant changes at the deadline. And yes, I believe they will do a lot of heavy lifting in the summer. But I would expect to see Jordan Clarkson and Malik Beasley at a minimum traded at this deadline. To me, that's transformative. That is significant dealings because you also know, as we've reported on this show, that sources inside the Utah Jazz have told us that Jordan Clarkson has not been willing to take any kind of a discount. Jordan Clarkson is expecting between $64 and $66 million on a minimum of a 3-year deal. That's a lot of bread for an organization that probably is not going to contend for a championship in that window. Mm-hmm. And even if they do, Jordan's going to be pushing 34 years old at the back end of that deal. That doesn't seem like smart business for the Utah Jazz. But then again, that's why we're talk show hosts and we're not NBA general managers or owners. It's a very curious position, Jake. And I wonder, what is it that you think the Jazz should do at the deadline?
Yeah, I mean, I think that what they should do at the bare minimum of what you should do is you should just simply be having as many conversations as possible. I think that both the best thing and the hardest thing is that you have a lot of options as far as the trade routes you want to go. And I think the goal really should be, let's get as many trades on the table as we possibly can and then sort of measure and evaluate those trades and make the best one for the organization. And I think Danny obviously has an idea of what he wants to do, and I'm going to go ahead and go out on a limb here and say that Malik Beasley and Jared Vanderbilt are part of those conversations. I wouldn't be surprised, honestly. But who's to say, really? I think we've talked a lot about the last week and a half about 3-team deals and all these different situations. And everyone is constantly Twitter DMing me or asking in our members group, what are the trade updates? what are they doing? And the truth is like, yeah, we have information, we have some things we've heard or whatever, but the truth is Danny knows what he wants, and then he knows what's available to him. And to me, I just hope that we don't get another Bogdanovich style deal. And I don't think we will, right? I don't think that Danny, I think Danny made that deal to spite the Lakers, and that was a very clear message he sent. But he needs to perform. Like he needs to do a good job this deadline in particular, not next year's deadline or the year after that, but this year's deadline, because if you do a good job here, that's going to push you forward in the draft, and that's going to expedite your timeline. And all we've heard from Danny is I don't have time to be on a losing team, essentially.
Yeah, I think it is. One of the things that really stands out is when you listen to Danny Ainge talk about the state of this team, and you listen to Danny talk about timelines and whatnot, I think it's pretty clear he's not here for a long rebuild.
The reality is we've had 16 years of, it's better than mediocrity for sure at times in the last 16 years, but at the same time, it really hasn't been championship caliber basketball. And 16 years without getting past the second round of the playoffs, I think is not what any of us want. And so the change is just, okay, here we are with veteran team, had been all in on this veteran team. I think Dennis Lindsey has done a fantastic job in this organization, as did Quinn Snyder. And but I just think we're starting over.
Yeah, I think it is. I would agree with that. It hasn't been mediocre, but has it been really good? And you listen to Danny talk about that. You remember that he also said he's too old to do a full, Oklahoma City style rebuild.
Yeah,
I think it's pretty clear that this team is all in on winning as soon as possible. I also think that the All-Star game complicates that because of the financial resources it takes. The money you have to spend to host an All-Star game is significant. And listen, the arena, Vivint Arena, is a palace. The place is gorgeous. It is. Obviously we've been to a handful of games this year. It's fantastic.
Right.
So I understand it's all worth that, but it also slows down the money that you're going to spend on human beings with the idea of winning games. And my main point in all of this is that I do think they're all in on winning. Having said that, you've got to make deals to help yourself next season. Mm-hmm. You've got to make deals to put yourself in a prime position to either acquire a superstar in the summer or draft. And I think that's also a huge question is, should the Utah Jazz take all these draft assets that they have and leverage them for a superstar, or should they draft that talent and hope they can develop it? And I'm more in line of 50-50, if I'm being honest with you. Take some of this draft capital that you have. Like, if you trade Clarkson and Beasley, I would expect you to have at least one more first-round pick this season, this coming draft. That'd be 4 in the first round. Now, again, you have your own, right, which you're going to be middle of the table on that, depending on how you finish.
Yeah.
You have, obviously, the Brooklyn pick is really interesting right now because without Kevin Durant, obviously their record's going to go down. So that's definitely something you have to look at. Minnesota, who's now behind you in the standings, so their pick is better than yours, which is perplexing. And we talked about this yesterday on Twitter. It's amazing to me that they are essentially the exact same team record-wise this season that they were last season.
Yeah.
And they trade with the Jazz, obviously, to acquire Rudy Gobert. And it's what Matt Cordero said on Twitter. Who knew the 2 7-footers, trying to build around 2 7-footers in a league where forwards run the floor routinely would be a problem, right?
Yeah.
Like, that was a terrible idea. And you're the exact same team this year that you were last year.
Yeah.
And then yesterday, NBA sources were telling us that the Suns and the Timberwolves were involved in conversations essentially around a deal where the Suns would end up with D'Angelo Russell and Alex Caruso from the Bulls. So trades like that are happening.
Yeah.
And the question is, if you are the Utah Jazz, should you be trading a guy like Jordan Clarkson and Malik Beasley and Jared Vanderbilt to the Suns to get a first-round pick? My answer is yes, I would want at least one first-round pick in that deal. But, yeah, I think you should be doing that.
Yeah, I think that that deal is a really interesting, situation. In the Suns, The Suns are the classic example of a great team that has just fallen from grace. They just have struggled. They've run into injuries. Like, I maintain that even at fully healthy, they weren't an NBA Finals team this year. The vibe just was not correct. And I think when you see all these deals happening, clearly it's no secret the Suns are trying to make deals and operate. But if I'm Danny Ainge, this is exactly the type of situation that I want to be involved in. This is the type of situation that I wanna see pan out. We told you, I think 2 weeks ago now it's been, or whatever, it's been a week and a half, about the Phoenix Jazz Atlanta situation, how that was sort of progressing and playing out. Now that's kind of fizzled out, and you see now the Suns are moving on to the next thing. But if I'm Danny Ainge, I'm sitting here saying, okay, yeah, just because that one didn't work out doesn't mean I can't get involved in this one or that one or whatever. So that's kind of my point. Like the question of, hey, should you trade all your draft assets to acquire a superstar, or should you trade your draft assets to move up in the draft to get a guy that you feel, no one's ever a guarantee, but a pretty safe bet, if you will, a safe gamble in the draft that he'll turn into something? I tend to want to be more in the camp of, I want to get someone established and I want to move this thing along. So that would be my goal. I would want to, spend a good bit of this draft capital in a trade with another team to get somebody. And that to me is how I'll go about it. But again, we are seeing better development this year out of the Utah Jazz organization than we had in prior years. So
I would agree with that.
Like you're seeing Walker Kessler come along a little bit. You're seeing, I am firmly in the Ochai camp. I think Ochai has a lot of potential. I think he is developing. I do think there are certain instances where he's in the wrong spot on the floor, but generally speaking, he's in the right spot 9 out of 10 plays.
Right, but there are people who have Walker Kessler as the second or third selection for NBA Rookie of the Year at the halfway mark.
Yeah, which I with all due respect to Walker, like I guess that's just a stats thing. I don't know, like I don't want to sit here and try to send the message I'm not a Walker Kessler fan, because I do like what he brings to the table. I love his natural ability to block shots. I do think he is just very young, because he is very young. He's a rookie. Like, you're going to make rookie mistakes. But if we're being honest, like, this isn't even a conversation. I mean, Paolo Banchero is by far the Rookie of the Year, and I just don't even think it's all that close.
I think when you look at Walker and you put him in a group with Jaden Ivey or Keegan Murray or Jabari Smith, Jalen Duran, you put him in that group of rookies who are the guys that come to mind. I mean, obviously, Paolo Banchero's better than all those guys.
Yeah.
And if we're looking at upside, I do think that Walker Kessler has Defensive Player of the Year upside.
Yeah.
I think he is an elite shot blocker. Will he ever develop a mid-range jumper? I have no idea. But I think Walker Kessler is a really good part of this team right now. Having said all of that, I do believe that the Jazz will be aggressive. I would absolutely, if you're a Utah Jazz fan, I would have every one of my eyeballs focused squarely on the Phoenix Suns. Mm-hmm. That team is in trouble. Their top 6 guys are not available to them right now. You look at Shamet is even out right now. Campaign's out right now. That's not even, to say that Chris Paul and Devin Booker are out right now. You have all of this talent out of the lineup right now for the Phoenix Suns. They're struggling. They are plummeting. You lost by 30-plus points last night to Denver. You got to go make a move. And if they're able to pull off a move, if they're able to make a deal, I don't know that Jay Crowder helps Minnesota. He doesn't hurt Minnesota. That certainly is true.
Right.
They have this awkward situation with D'Lo in Minnesota. They need to make a trade there, frankly. Mm-hmm. I think that Jay Crowder fits in for the right now, and clearly they are in win right now mode.
Yeah, they don't have. That's the problem. They don't have much of a choice. I mean, you spent all this money on acquiring Gobert's contract and Cat and like Anthony Edwards and D'Lo. Like you have.
I think D'Lo's making $31 million.
Yeah, so
that's
like you're
money,
spending
man.
All this money, and I just there are two teams. There are two types of teams when it comes down to the deadline. The teams that are spending money and trying to win right now in their current situation with their roster, and the team that's either building or maybe just is indifferent and, whatever. For whatever reason, they're not in win now mode. There's a variety, but for whatever reason, they're not in win now. And so when you look at the T-Wolves, they're that team that's got to operate like, hey, we have to win now, and we're not going to be able to sit here and be a sub 500 team the whole year.
But the question is, who's willing to help them? Because they don't have a whole lot of you've got a couple of guys you would move there. You don't have a whole lot of guys where you're like, yep, and here, let me give you 3 draft picks. Because the Jazz essentially own all their draft picks.
Yeah.
So Minnesota's in a tough spot. It really is. All right, let's get your comments in here. Welcome to the program this morning. Always appreciate you guys. Please, right now, hit the like button. We have had about 250 people watch the show right now. We've got 11 likes. Let's pump those numbers up. Those are rookie numbers. If all 57 of you hit the like button right now, that would make a huge difference. Funky Orion, first one in, says, whether the Jazz reach the playoffs or not, I think they did pretty well as a team. Walker Kessler has big potential. I would agree. He has potential, but potential is such a dangerous word. Which will be interesting. Kurt Meyer says, good morning, people. Good morning, Kurt. Mark Hales, welcome to Mornings with the Monies. Okay.
I'm sorry. I thought you said mornings with the monies.
Yeah, that's exactly what he said. Teddy Wayman, morning, guys. Teddy, what's up? How are you? He says, hit the like button on your way in, people. Appreciate that. Talking with Raphael podcast.
What's up, dude?
How's the baby, Raphael? Hope you're well. Good to see you. Giggity, what's up? Brett Robbins. Don called Kessler out, calling his coverage. What the F was he thinking? Well, it's a common, in lower levels of basketball, that's very common. Like what he's talking about there is Donovan Mitchell, after the game the other night, pulled Walker Kessler aside and essentially said to him, stop telling me what you're doing defensively. Because Walker is yelling, dropping, like he's saying, hey, I'm dropping back in the paint here, or I'm going under, or he's essentially yelling out loud what he was going to do. But that's a very common practice in lower levels of basketball for a communication thing. And I think that, it's absolutely a mistake at the NBA level.
Yeah.
Because even when a guy like Donovan Mitchell doesn't know what you're going to do, you're still going to get beat.
Yeah.
But that's not uncommon, frankly. Mike Chase. Hey, Mike Chase. Good to see you. Where you been, man? Arlington Bear says, not sure what's worse, when Monty sings on the program or that Snoop rap. I did put a rap in the...
Bro, Chris, dude, chill. That was some morning vibes,
That
dude.
was. We were bumping because my mama ain't home.
And even the Monty Ghost was in and chilling with us, and it was sick.
Yeah, I did a little rap in the Monty Show Instagram members only group this morning. We were listening to a little Snoop before the show. Wow. Can you do something for me? I thought it was amazing. D-Rock, good to see you, my friend. Ken Williams, how are you? Wow, I couldn't find the show. LOL, thanks for the link. What do you mean you couldn't find the show? Like button, casuals, hit it. Exactly right. Luis Capazzo in the GZ. Morning, everyone. Check your subscription and notification. YouTube failed me this morning. Really?
YouTube's been having some technical issues on the backside.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, YouTube made a major infrastructure update in the last 3 weeks. Like their new terms of service for us creators came out yesterday, and the way that they're going to deliver shorts. And so YouTube has had some hiccups, but they're working on it. Yet. Yeah, the ink's not dry yet. Exactly. Kenai Johnson, KJ, how the heck are you, dude? Hope you're doing well. Top of the morning, fellas. Already smashed that like button. Let's go. Ken Williams, the rancher, says, I'm not giving up on Vando. He does a lot of the little things, hustle plays. That's the interesting question. I think Jared Vanderbilt's one of those guys for the Utah Jazz. For instance, you have to look at the Phoenix Suns with Jared Vanderbilt. Yeah. Because I think the Phoenix Suns would really like to add Jared Vanderbilt to their squad. Mm-hmm. And I understand that. He's a great rim runner. He's a good defender. Yeah, he makes plays. But he is super limited offensively.
Yeah, I mean, with all due respect, Ken, I'm shipping his ass out. Like he's not a championship player. He He is someone who is 7th or 8th on a championship team at most. I think that he's young. I think he needs development, but I think that for the Jazz, he's valuable in a trade conversation, and that's just the reality of the situation. I don't hate the guy. I just think that his mechanics are wonky. I think his upper body is separated from his lower body, which is why the ball spins sideways when he shoots it.
He's never going to be a gifted three-point shooter.
But
it will never be easy.
But here's the thing, and I agree with that, but I think that he could develop into a serviceable corner 3 guy. He could. But that's going to take a lot of work, and the Jazz don't have that kind of time.
And I also think you can get similar production and similar output from an Ochai Agbaji.
Yeah.
Because Ochai's already a really easy corner 3 guy.
Well, and the Vando apologists will say, well, but Ochai doesn't have Vando's length, and Vando has this great body, and it's like, yeah, he does, but the thing is Ochai is clearly going up and to the right. Ochai is clearly on a path where, hey, he just needs more minutes to get comfortable shooting the NBA 3 in an NBA building at NBA pace. And you see it pan out. And I think that, you talk about hustle plays there, Ken. I think Ochai makes a lot of hustle plays. Dude is always in an opportunistic position to rebound.
But listen, Ochai Agbaji is what you need in the NBA.
Yeah.
Jared Vanderbilt, size and position, he should be a great power forward, but he's not. And I think you're up and to the right, meaning he's getting better.
Yeah.
With Ochai is true. I think Jared Vanderbilt I think he's going to improve. I just don't know. Is he anything better than a Nerlens Noel? Is he anything better than that type of player who's super limited? And obviously they're not the same player, the same.
I'd love to see.
But you know what I mean.
I would love to see Vando at some point in his career turn into Grant Williams. That's what I would love to see. Grant Williams.
Come on now.
Grant
Williams.
Yeah, Grant Williams was not some great three-point shooter 3 years ago. You think Grant Williams was some amazing shooter? Grant Williams developed. Grant Williams became somebody that earned his minutes through knocking down the 3. And what I'm saying is that, right now, Vando's not a good three-point shooter. He should not be shooting the ball more than 3 times a game. But what I am saying is that there are enough people in the NBA, in this world, that can teach you how to shoot a basketball properly. There's no excuse not to. Like, if Vando took the summer and paid Lethal Shooter, you really think that you wouldn't see an increase in his shot?
Well, I'll give you credit. Grant Williams has dramatically improved his three-point shooting. 41.2%. He was 25% when he came in the league 3 years ago.
You see what I mean, though?
And he was shooting 1 a game. Now he's shooting 4 a game. So, yeah, if Vando ever gets to consistently 32, 35% from 3, it's over. He's a really good player.
He's good.
Yeah, but right now he's not that guy, and I don't think the Jazz are going to invest in him as that guy. But that's just me. All of our Utah Jazz talk on the Monty Show, presented by our good friends at Quick Quack Car Wash. Heading over to the Quickity Quack today. We're actually not going to get rain or snow today here in Utah. Unfortunately. But yeah, we will not get rain or snow today. So going to head over to Quick Quack, get the car washed. I'll be in and out of there in 5 minutes. It is a great car wash. They're friendly people. And frankly, the thing that I really like about Quick Quack Car Wash is that people can't stop checking me out.
Okay, guys, I'm going to tell you the secret to impressing my neighbors, the Wyatt coworkers, you name it. I just swing by Quick Quack. It seriously takes 2 minutes, and people can't stop, won't stop checking me out. Getting a clean car is definitely my best life hack. Kids are messy, camping's dirty, but my truck sure isn't.
I mean, he ain't wrong. People can't stop, won't stop checking me out. And then I get my car washed, and it gets even worse. Like, I mean, the line of Draper hot moms is out the
Please
down the street. Come on. I worked in Quick Quack, Draper hot moms, and can't stop, won't stop, all into the same sentence, and I don't get any love for that.
That's a really good take.
I don't get any love for the Draper MILF bomb,
dude.
Holy cow!
It is a good take, man.
Does the Draper MILF bomb ever get old on this program? No, it doesn't. No, it does not.
Draper moms.
Anyway.
Draper, what a town.
It is. Ken Williams says, nope, I'm keeping him because that's just me. I like him too. Okay.
Hey, and that's cool. That's cool.
Okay. Brett Robbins says, all the Cougars checking Jake Subi out.
Hey, play the video. Let's go. Play the tape. Where is it?
No, I'm not going to play it.
Why won't you play it?
Because I am not going to condone you destroying Zion National Park. Listen, look at you, polluting our great open lands in the great state of Utah.
It's probably different than what you're thinking, though.
You hack. Anyway, Severe says, the thing about Vando is I can find another player like him in the NBA. There will be a lot of Vandos that come in the NBA. And I think that's a thing. Like, I think you can find guys who do what Vando does. Mm-hmm. And again, it's not an anti-Vando thing. It's I want to win sooner than later, and Jared Vanderbilt's not a project I want to invest in.
Yeah, for sure.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
You know, and again, I look at this situation with the Suns, and I think that, you know, if the Suns make this deal, here's a question about the Suns. Should the Suns trade DeAndre Ayton? Because this is the brass tacks of the Phoenix Suns.
Yes.
This is what we're talking about. And when you look at the Suns and you look at where they are, they're in a real tipping point here. Has the championship window closed on the Suns?
No.
I don't think it's closed. But are you going to be married to a guy like Cam Johnson? Or are you willing to give him up so that somebody will take DeAndre Ayton?
The championship window hasn't closed, but it's being held open with a toothpick. You need to make a trade to solidify your championship window. And if you don't, that thing is going to slam shut and, you know, deadlock bolt closed. Like you're not going to, you can't afford to mess this up. And I'm going to keep saying it. This whole, the sale of this team and Sarver and that whole conundrum really has put, you know, gasoline on a fire that was controlled, but burning. You know, the DeAndre Ayton situation has not been good, and I think the guy is good. I think he's soft mentally, but he is a contributor. There's no question about it. Like, you don't have to like him as a guy, but he's giving you, I think he gives averages like 23 a night or something like that. Like, he does work. Like, so to me, yeah, you do need to trade him, but the question really is, who are you going to trade him to? Because I don't know who would help the Suns.
I think the Utah Jazz would love DeAndre Ayton.
Yeah,
I think DeAndre Ayton would be a phenomenal fit in this system. I think DeAndre Ayton is a guy that needs a change of scenery. The one thing that scares me about DeAndre is that he is soft. He is incredibly soft. And the development piece for him is, one, he's not a gifted catcher of the basketball. He does not catch the basketball well or easily. He has improved, but he does shoot the ball exceptionally well. He does run the floor exceptionally well, and he finishes at the rim really well.
Yeah.
So you like a lot of things that DeAndre does. He's never going to be the best defensive center in the NBA.
Right.
He's never going to be that guy. But he can defend the perimeter a little bit. He can move his feet a little bit. I like DeAndre Ayton a lot. The question is, you know, here in 3 days when DeAndre Ayton becomes eligible for trade, is that a trade the Utah Jazz would make? I don't know, because I do think the Chicago Bulls and from what I was told yesterday by a guy that's not wrong very often on our NBA sourcing stuff, that the Phoenix Suns would really like the opportunity to move DeAndre Ayton and would consider taking Nikola Vucevic back in trade from the Chicago Bulls. And I think the Bulls would covet DeAndre Ayton. There is no doubt about that. And, you know, the question is, you know, and now I want to go back and look at that because I want to make sure I get it right. But when you start looking at, you know, you start looking at the deals that we're hearing about with the Phoenix Suns, and you start really looking at what DeAndre Ayton's value is, I think DeAndre Ayton has value around the NBA. I really do. And you look at that, you know, the Suns, Timberwolves, and Bulls would make a deal that would see Jay Crowder, Landry Shamet, and Kobe White wind up in Minneapolis.
Hey, guys.
The Bulls would end up with D'Angelo Russell, Jade McDaniels, and Bismack Biyombo. And then you have the Phoenix Suns ending up with Nikola Vucevic and Alex Caruso or some form of that. Is that a better deal for the Suns than the deal that we talked about where they would end up with Beasley and Vando and Bogdan Bogdanovic from Atlanta, and the Suns would end up with John Collins and a contract filler.
The Jazz.
The Jazz, rather, would end up with John Collins and a contract filler and a first-round pick.
Yeah, no, I think that deal, the John Collins deal with Atlanta, the 3-teamer, would have worked out way better for the Suns than this deal. I am not a Vucevic guy out of Chicago. All jokes aside,
It's a terrible defender.
All jokes aside, with Jeremy Bolton, I like Alex Caruso. I'd have him on my team. He's an intangibles guy. He's a leadership guy.
But
like he does things.
Alex Caruso's highest best use is on a really good roster because he does all the things really well to help superstars like Book and CP3. He helps those guys dramatically improve.
Mm-hmm.
But the question is, how much fall off is there from Vucevic to Ayton? Now, here's the crazy thing. I don't think there's that much fall off. And especially for the Phoenix Suns. And here's why I say that. Because DeAndre Ayton does not fit the culture of that locker room. DeAndre Ayton does not, in my opinion, want to play defense. Well, I'm getting the same thing in Vucevic, but I'm getting a high character culture guy. I'm getting a guy that is an elite pick and pop 3-point shooter. And I think in this league where the Suns are right now, I think there's a ton of value in that. It's just a matter of what are the Suns going to have to give up because, you have all these contracts floating around. The question is, if you're Minnesota, how are you not trying to get Cam Johnson in that deal? As injured as Cam Johnson has been, if you're giving up D'Lo, how are you not trying to get Cam Johnson in that deal?
Mm-hmm.
That's it. So
yeah.
I look at a lot of these trades and I look at a lot of these conversations. And again, as I've said for 2 weeks, my biggest concern is that Danny's asking too much. That's my biggest concern. And when I look at the DeAndre Ayton trade, because if you go back and look at the Donovan Mitchell day, the day that Donovan Mitchell was traded, our sources were telling us, and later it was confirmed by just about every NBA insider, that the Utah Jazz and the Phoenix Suns were inches from making a DeAndre Ayton trade.
Yeah.
I mean, right there. And they didn't do it. And I think it's because the Suns did not want to give up multiple first-round picks.
Yeah.
And frankly, again, the Suns own all of their draft capital. They're in really good position. That's why, again, I say they're going to make a deal. It's not will the Suns make a deal. James Jones is one of the best young GMs in this league.
Yeah.
James is going to make a deal. They've got to get the sale of this team figured out.
Yeah.
Because I think that's a huge part of this here.
Yeah, I mean, you just have to be able to move on emotionally from the Sarver stuff and all the despicable things that he did and like how the organization felt under his, tutelage. It's just one of those situations where you got to be able to move on from that. And so to me, the Suns are that team that should be better that they're not performing right now. So it's not a question of if, it's when, and I hope the Jazz are part of that.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think it's one of those things where you have to find a way. I guess the right way to say this is, much like the Phoenix Suns, you have to find a way to make a trade. You have to find a way to hit the join button and become a member of the Monty Show because, frankly put, it's just the best way to live your life these days here in the great state of Utah. Now,
it's really good work, dude. I mean,
you kidding me right now?
Can you do something?
Here on the Monty Show, that on a daily basis we tell you, hey, we are the truth in Salt Lake City sports talk, and we absolutely are. What you get when you hit the join button, and I put the link in the comments section here on YouTube, go ahead and click that link. It's $9.99 a month. You get an exclusive video every single day right here on the Monty Show. You get exclusive insider information before anybody else right here on the Monty Show. On Instagram, you get access into our members-only group. You get me rapping Snoop Dogg, but you also get daily videos uploaded when the Jazz are playing, when NBA news happens in the NFL and college football. We're all in there. It is a great community of Monty Show supporters that, frankly, pick each other up. We were talking about, guys, hey, I'm hiring over here. Hey, I know about a job over here, like people that were looking for a job. Mm-hmm. Inspiration about, hey, what's your side hustle? What are you guys doing? How is that working for you? It's just a really strong community of supporters. So if you would consider joining the Monty Show, click the link in the comments or the join button on your phone right now. and it's $9.99 a month. And hey, you also get access to all of our merch first. This March 10th, I cannot wait. We are this close to announcing our next special guest at our March 10th birthday bash, because I'm going to be 50 years old.
Yes.
You already know that BYU linebacker Max Tooley is going to join us here at Maverick Center. By the way, we broadcast every day at Maverick Center. You already know that Max Tooley is going to join us for the birthday bash on March 10th. You're going to have exclusive access to meet him. Our good friend Chris Karn, who was the first member of the Monty Show, is the first one invited to the Maverick Center. So he'll get to hang out with Max Tooley and a Ute football player. We are this close, just trying to reconcile his schedule. We'll announce that as soon as we get that on the books. But it's going to be amazing. We're going to have an amazing cake there. We're going to have all kinds of great food. Oh, by the way, it is Utah Grizzlies hockey. So you're going to get hockey. You're going to bring your friends. It's going to be amazing. And our membership is going to have access to that first. So please go ahead and click the join button.
And I think the thing with the membership too, like if let's say that all that stuff he just talked about wasn't enough value, even though it's great value in my opinion. I think that the biggest thing is getting more of a personalized experience. Like if you're someone who really loves the show, but would love to ask us questions. Like I haven't, 3 days ago, someone asked, hey, how do you cut drops? I haven't forgot about that. We're going to do that video. Just haven't gotten to it yet because we've been busy. But it's that's a perfect example. There, you can ask us literally anything, whether it's trades or whether it's superheroes or food or, hey, who's got job openings? It's just a much more personalized thing, and I know it's $9.99 a month. I know it's another subscription, it's another Netflix, but I think the current members we have would tell you the chat on its own has brought a ton of value.
It's
to
worth
them.
it.
Yeah,
the Instagram members only chat is totally worth it.
Yeah,
it is a lot of fun. So consider hitting the join button right here on the Monty Show. The biggest stories in sports this fine here morning, presented by our good friends at Barbecue Pit Stop, bbqpitstop.com. Again, make sure when you go to Barbecue Pit Stop, you tell them you heard about it on the Monty Show. We really appreciate you supporting our sponsors, and the guys at Barbecue Pit Stop are awesome. You can check out any of their 5 Utah locations: Layton, Logan, Layton, Lehigh, St. George, and of course our good friends right across the street from the mall in Murray, on State Street. They're all just really good guys to do business with. And it is amazing how many people send us pictures of the food that they're smoking. I love that you guys went into Barbecue Pit Stop. Do you realize that Monty Show listeners sold them out of Asado seasoning, which is awesome. You can get it online, by the way, bbqpitstop.com. Get the Asado seasoning and then send us pictures of what you're smoking. Today is a great day to rock your smoker, by the way. So I'm telling you, no more charcoal briquettes. Somebody said to me yesterday, oh, but the flavor infusion of the charcoal briquette.
Talk to me about flavor infusion of charcoal briquettes.
Have you made a steak on cherry pellets?
Dude, come on.
Oh, my God.
Come on.
It's amazing. I'm telling you, you only get that with the guys at Barbecue Pit Stop, bbqpitstop.com. Let's get some more of your comments in here. Hey, Alex Cooley joined the show. What's up, Alex Cooley? Let's go.
Let's go. Get it done.
Everybody shout out Alex Cooley. Cooley, appreciate you joining the show, man. Thank you.
Please DM me, SLC Jake on Instagram. I'll get you added to the chat.
Appreciate that. Sean Carden says the question should be, what value can the Jazz get for Jordan Clarkson? A first-round pick, an up-and-coming player. Well, again, I think Jordan Clarkson is worth a first-round pick.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that. And I think when you look at, when you look at the guys like Phoenix, you look at the guys like Phoenix, and you start to understand that they have, their draft picks, they have them all, rounds 1 and 2 through, just about every year into the future. They own all of their future draft picks. How crazy is that?
Yeah.
So if you're the Phoenix Suns and you recognize that you have a championship caliber roster that needs tweaking, Jordan Clarkson's a great fit on your roster. If Jordan Clarkson's coming off the bench instead of Cameron Payne, how much better are the Phoenix Suns?
Yeah.
It's a big deal. But Danny's not just going to simply do Jordan Clarkson for a first-round pick. I think Danny sees that there's potential there. I do believe that they would take a serious look at a DeAndre Ayton deal. The only issue is DeAndre Ayton, his contract is substantial. You'll remember Indiana signed him to an offer sheet, and the Suns immediately matched it. He's owed 35, 30, 32, 34, and 35 million, $132 million over the next 4 years. Is that a lot of money for a power forward / center? Of his offensive skill set, it's probably not.
Yeah, I mean, offensively, he's a beast. There's no doubt about it. He can do so much for you. And I think, again, it's a preference thing. That's the hard part here. Like, keep that in mind. This is all a preference, bias sort of conversation. Like, hey, I think DeAndre Ayton can work here, but I don't think he can work there. And another guy will tell you just the opposite. So, to me, I don't think that's a lot of money for Ayton. I think that he's somebody that can come into your organization and make a big-time difference. You look at the organizations and the teams that have one big. I'm not talking about a ton of bigs, just one big who can start or come off the bench that can make that impact for you in 15 to 20 minutes a night. That's important to have. I know it's not a big man's league. I'm certainly not saying that you need to run your offense through a big. But what I am saying is that having one that can set screens, play the pick and roll, stop and pop three. Like in Ayton's case, stop and pop mid-range. He's not really a three guy, but he is a mid-range guy. So having that dynamic really opens up the floor. The comparison on this team I would use is Vando, actually. When I look at how defenses play the Jazz when Vando's on the floor, Vando's not a threat offensively. And that allows, once again, defenses to play 5-on-4 against the Utah Jazz.
Exactly right.
So DeAndre Ayton, that value is not just that he's a big and that he can set the screens, but he spaces the floor really, really well. And for him, I think personally, and this is really important to me, when I'm looking at guys, I think DeAndre Ayton understands that his next opportunity has to go really well. In the locker room, on the floor, he's got to check the boxes.
Well, and he's motivated in that way. And, this is a guy that gives you 17 to 20 points a night. I think his career average is 10 rebounds a game.
Yeah.
I mean, that has a lot of value here. And what it does is it locks Lauri Markkanen into the three, which I really like. In this team, they're wanting rebounders. DeAndre Ayton allows them to get out and run more. That's what I like about it. Obviously, the money is significant. But if I'm Danny Ainge and I can make a deadline deal to get DeAndre Ayton, and I have to send them Vanderbilt, and I have to send – because if you look at the money that deal would take, I think that that's a lot, man. Like, that is – if you look at the money that's in that deal I mean, DeAndre on his own is a $30 million player, right? So if you look at Phoenix, and if we're being honest, what are we getting from Phoenix right now? You're probably taking DeAndre Ayton, and there's a pretty good chance that you're going to have to take a Dario Saric, right? Yeah. So let's call that $40 million. Well, you're going to have to go then and look at your roster and what is it going to cost you? What is it going to cost you to make that deal? Well, my guess is it's going to cost you Malik Beasley certainly at 15.
Right.
You're going to have to include Malik Beasley and Jordan Clarkson, let's say. Well, right there, you're at $27 million. And then who's the guy we told you that they were looking to trade? Talon Horton-Tucker at $10 million. There's a deal to be made there. It's going to take 2 future first-round picks to get that done. It's going to take Phoenix's first-round pick now and Phoenix's first-round pick next year and DeAndre Ayton to get that deal done, and probably another player. And I would imagine there will be pick swaps in there. But I think if I'm the Phoenix Suns, does that deal make me a better team? If I send out a Dario Saric, a power forward, and I send out DeAndre Ayton, a center, and I'm getting a Beasley, Clarkson, Vando in return.
Yeah, you're better.
Right, you're better.
You're better.
You're absolutely a better team. The problem is I don't know that Vando's money makes that deal pop.
Yeah.
That's a problem. I think that deal works if you are Vando, Beasley, and THT. That deal probably works. But you're just going to have to figure. What is your motivation if you are the Suns? How motivated are you to make a trade? Well, NBA sources are telling us they're the busiest team in the trade market right now.
I mean, I think they're incredibly motivated. I think, what's happening in Los Angeles is motivating the front office in Phoenix, right? In a couple of different ways. Number one, when you have LeBron James coming out and making the comments that he made about the fact that, winning is, the high standard and, we know what should be happening.
And he wants to end his career with the Lakers.
Yeah.
Did you guys see that? LeBron James.
Yeah.
LeBron James said, I want to be a Laker for the rest of my career.
Yeah.
Well, good luck, Anthony Davis. Enjoy your next destination because they trade net A.
Yeah. So
that's
to
what
me,
that means.
Like if you're Phoenix, okay, a couple of things. And we can't skip over all of these. All of these are equally important in my opinion. Number one, just like the point you made, that the Lakers are going to make moves. And that those moves are going to be big in the beginning because it's Anthony Davis, it's big money contracts. So that there are going to be some waves made out of Los Angeles. Number two, Los Angeles is going to get better. They're not going to be sitting here the way they're sitting here right now, which means the Western Conference is yet again going to get deeper.
And again, I've heard repeatedly that this trade deadline is going to define the future of Rob Pelinka with the Lakers.
I hope so.
If they don't have a productive trade deadline, I think Rob Pelinka is going to be out of a job come the summertime.
Yeah.
And I think that makes a lot of sense. I mean, he just has
agree.
not been able to transform that roster
and
the way that you would like.
And I think if you're Phoenix, the front office in Phoenix, you also understand that you can't allow your organization to get into the same spot the Lakers are, and you can't erode that relationship with Devin Booker because he is on a longer-term deal right now. And again, as those deals start to tick and the time goes by and you start to watch, hey, a year from now I'm going to be a free agent, we know what happens in that window. We know conversations start happening between Book and other star players, and the chances of him coming back are not nearly as good. So that's what I'm saying. You got to be aggressive here.